Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Heartwell Dev stream, the live stream series where I continue to develop this adorable Souls-like action RPG with platforming mechanics and multiple endings. And if you find these dev streams interesting or helpful, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click that bell button to stay notified. Now, when we previously left off, we were actually propagating the Saints and Exits code to the other frames, and we actually managed to succeed on that front. So, the functionality for the Saints and Exits menu actually does work on the other frames, so let me just demonstrate that real quick. Let's just load up a frame. So notice, we head on over here, we change the page numbers, we can swap between full screen mode and not, and of course the functionality with the return to main menu and exit game is still there. So if I head on over here, let's say I want to go back to the main menu, we got all that. And of course the exit game function is functioning too, so might as well just go down to the depths real quick just to demonstrate that down there. So, as you can see, all functional. And I'll also reminder that the new lore's been added as well, so you can see all the help box details are there. But there is one detail in all this that has that still has yet to be fully implemented, at least across the frames, and that is the passive lore bit display. So I had it implemented in the central well before. For those who don't know what the passive lore bit display is, it basically looks like this. So if we go to the central well, all right, normally if we read a lore bit, I know I should still have one down here, yep, you will see that it is currently doing as it normally is. This is an immersive lore bit, so we see Dorothy's character portrait, we see normal text spots, all that good stuff. But a passive lore bit, as we can see here, makes the UI a lot smaller and puts it off in the corner. Now, it's the same text, obviously slightly different fonts, but it's the same, like, lore being displayed. It's just done in a much more compact format that's off to the side, so it doesn't take up as much of the screen. This should only occur for lore bits and not for cutscenes, of course. And I've already tested this in this frame, and I've also got this working in the lower well as well. But I have not done this for the depths yet, and that is because the depths has by far the most lines of dialogue, at least so far in the demo, and it also has a lot of dialogue with other characters, which means that there's a bunch of lines that need to just have the normal display and not this display. So that will be our focus tonight, is trying to get that code all copied over and implemented in depths. The depths text display code is a bit more complicated. So, but on the bright side, chat, the good thing about all this is that once we get this code copied over for and implemented for the passive lore bits in the depths, then that means that like the remaining stuff before the next update to the demo is going to be stuff in, with the boss fights. And that stuff I'll primarily be doing off stream, just to try and keep it a little bit of a surprise. But for those who are unaware, I've rebalanced the amount of EXP that the normal enemies drop in the tutorial dungeon. So the rattlesnakes, the cabrattles, and the cobras all drop 5 times as much XP as they used to. But because of that, that also means that the player will be expected to be a noticeably higher level than they were before when they reach their first tutorial boss, if they so choose to go that way. Oh, hello, Copper Nicholson. Thanks for dropping by. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. So, because of that, it means that I need to make the tutorial bosses, the difficulty for the tutorial bosses make sense for what level the player is expected to be around that point. So I've already done some calculations to what levels I approximate the player should probably be at by the time they reach one of the tutorial bosses. But even so, simply, I don't think, like, in terms of how to rebalance the tutorial boss fights, I don't want to go completely ham with, like, tons and tons of extra attack patterns or anything like that, because there'll be, you know, plenty of time for that later in the game. And I also don't think simply raising the health would be adequate, just because that wouldn't fundamentally alter the difficulty of the fight that much. It would just make it last longer. So so because of that, my kind of middle ground is that I intend to give the tutorial bosses each of the tutorial bosses a second phase. Now, the second phase isn't going to, like, add a ton of new attack patterns or anything like that. It's more so going to reinforce some lessons about combat that need to be that I want the players to know about and really have reinforced before they go out into the rest of Eleftheria, because I feel like a good tutorial boss is one that is, you know, obviously doesn't completely destroy you. You want a tutorial boss that can, you know, make sure you've learned the basics of the game without being... a good tutorial boss is a couple of things. One, it does not just absolutely annihilate you, like, because otherwise, then you have a just one final boss situation, and that's no fun. But number two, it shouldn't be a total pushover either, because a total pushover doesn't really teach you anything. In my opinion, a good tutorial boss is one that is a reasonable challenge for the point that it's at, that reinforces important lessons that'll be commonplace throughout much of the rest of the game. And my hope is with these second phases that they accomplish that. Now, with that in mind, let's get back to it. So, you might be wondering, alternate lower bits. If we're going to be doing that, can't we just copy and paste this and be done with it, right? Well, not quite. Because as you can see, this is all tailored to specific things. Actually, no, it's not alternate lore bits, it's passive lore bits. So, when I was copying this over to the lower well off stream, I had to be very, very careful with checking which lines of code were impacted by this being the small test box. It was definitely a process to figure things out. So we'll start from the top. So first things first, make sure we have our positioning all correct. Also, read a message just hacked in. La 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 lava, chicken. Dorothy's lava chicken. It's tasty, it's mamacita, it's ringing that bell. It's crispy, it's juicy, it's got that snack, and that spicy smell. It's a lava attack. That sounds like something that Mustache Girl would serve at her castle, just because her castle's in a giant volcano. Hat kid! Do you want to have some lava fried chicken with me? I don't know. I don't like spicy food that much. Oh, but I made it myself, you know. But I really don't like spicy food, Mustache Girl. I'm more interested in things like chocolate and anything involving sugar. Well, there's none of that here. Also, Copper Richardson says the Minecraft movie was glorious. Oh, interesting. I'm glad you enjoyed it. What I've heard about the Minecraft movie is it's basically like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, it's not necessarily good from like a thematic or storyline perspective, but it's the kind of thing where it's like you go to it because you want to meme about it. Just like with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's like, I am Steve. I've heard of that meme at least. Wait a minute, I don't have to get the meme. Oh, so the lava chicken is from the Minecraft movie. Okay. No, I did not, because I have not seen the Minecraft movie. I'm just kind of aware of it. No, you know, the funny thing is, Copper Nicholson, in actual Minecraft, not the Minecraft movie, but in the actual Minecraft, something I would almost always do. Okay, so let's take a step back. In Minecraft, you know how you have a bar at the bottom of the screen where you can very quickly switch between items in your inventory? The 2 slots in that bar on the right side of my screen were always filled with a water bucket and a lava bucket. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is I see Copper Nicholson, but there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that the being able to place a block of water and a block of lava at any time adds a ton of utility for things like, you know, extinguishing yourself if you accidentally catch on fire, or more importantly, with the lava bucket especially, being able to get cooked food without actually having to use a furnace. So what I would do to get cooked food is, you know, you'd find all the cows, the chickens, the pigs, and so forth. But instead of feeding them with like your bare hands or anything, you just use the lava bucket to set, you know, to ignite them. And the fun fact about Minecraft is that if they're defeated by fire damage, is that they actually dropped cooked meat as opposed to raw meat. So, and another thing about that is, like, unlike many tools in Minecraft, buckets have unlimited uses. Like, they never run out, they have infinite durability. So I often liked to make good use of the water bucket and lava bucket because they had infinite durability and just so many use cases. So if you're ever playing Minecraft and you want some tips from like the olden days of the Minecraft beta, you make sure you got your water and lava buckets on hand, because they're very useful. All right, there's that. I'm unaware of that, Copper Nicholson. Alrighty, let's grab that. Alright, next up. So, you might be asking yourself, Antomicx, how do you make these, like, how do you make sure that the like the dialogue for the like immersive and passive orbits are all synced up? And the way that's accomplished is by actually just reusing the same code that was used for the original text bots to also work for the passive Lorbit stuff at the same time. So that way, the way I have it programmed, when you actually switched from immersive to passive or vice versa, all you're doing is switching what is visible. And as a result of that, that actually makes the programming a lot easier, because you're able to reuse a lot of the same code for both the normal text bots in Portrait and the smaller text bots. Alright, here's a question for you, Copper Nicholson. What is your favorite item and or block in Minecraft? Because for me, I'd say probably my favorite item is probably the sticky piston. And that's because the sticky piston can be used for so many, like, fun contraptions. You can do simple things like, you know, make all sorts of hidden doors. Or you can make literal flying machines, and lots of things in between. I was not aware of that, Copper Nicholson. It's a block in Minecraft, Copper Nicholson. I was asking you, what is your favorite block in Minecraft? Because mine is the sticky piston. Oh, you've never played Minecraft, Copper Nicholson? You are missing out. It's a really good sandbox game. Like, if you like sandbox games, like define your own things, no rules, stuff like that, Minecraft is perfect. Hi, Quinn. Thanks for dropping by. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. We are in the midst of bringing over code for the passable orbits to the depths. Now, let's see here. We need to find the place where the text box is being displayed for the stuff. Alright, so this is... let's search for the lore bits. Those are the section scripts. Well, I'll say this, Copper Nicholson. I've played Minecraft for many years. I've never once encountered any issue like that. So I would say it's no more or less a risk of leaking anything like that than using just about anything else on the internet. Alright. Ooh, chat, the jazz is back. Alright, I need to check whether or not the section steps require that. Okay, they do. They do. Okay. Okay. Is that on? Let's see here. Well, if you would like to listen to Halloween music, Copper Nicholson, I'm sure that there's some lovely Halloween music on YouTube. But when you're on this stream, you're on an Antomicx stream, and this is the kind of music that I like to listen to when I'm working on stuff like this. Although I will say this, if you want some really fun Halloween music, listen to Mystic Mansion from Sonic Heroes. That's a really fun bop. Da 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 da. No, Mystic Mansion, Copper Nicholson. Have you ever played Sonic Heroes? Even if you haven't, it's a pretty easy finish to search for. Oh, doth hear someone say they have never heard of Sonic Heroes? Easily the third or fourth best 3D Sonic game? Well, then you're in for a treat, because I grew up on Sonic Heroes. I did not get to play Sonic Adventure 1 or Sonic Adventure 2 when I was young. No, because I did not have a Dreamcast or a GameCube or anything like that. I had a PC. And because of that, the very first 3D Sonic, the very first 3D Sonic game that I played was none other than the PC port for Sonic Heroes. And let me tell you, the PC port for Sonic Heroes is a lovable, janky mess. but it was still, I still have fond memories about it. Because even though it was a janky mess, and even though the story of Sonic Heroes is not particularly complex or well thought out in most areas, the levels are really, really fun and quite intricately designed. So, if you want like a 3D Sonic game that you can just kind of turn your brain off for and still know that at least the gameplay will be fun for the most part, most of the boss fights aren't as amazing, but at least the levels are quite good. Then Sonic Heroes is for you. Also, it has 12 playable characters, so that's fun. Speaking of Sonic Heroes, I really think we need a Sonic Heroes remake. Like, I think there's a massive opportunity for Sega if they were to do a remake. It should be Sonic Heroes, because then they could just reintroduce a whole lot of characters that have not had nearly as much screen time as before. Was the last game Krima's in? No, not quite. The most recent game that Krima's appeared in was Sonic Dream Team. But, which, if you haven't looked at Sonic Dream Team, don't check it out, Confidential. It was a pretty fun game from what I've heard. Alright. I think I did that right. Let's just double check. Very good. You want character development, go see Sonic Frontiers. That was some character development. Alright. So that's copied over. The tricky part about this is going to be finding lines of code like this. As the lore bit steps, as the lore bit information is easy enough to figure out. But where this is going to be most relevant is for where the cutscene dialogue is. I think the easiest way to do this is going to be so that we're not like constantly jumping back and forth. We're gonna focus on an idea. In this case, it's the every 3 seconds. And that should hopefully get us into the ballpark of where we need to be. Yeah, that's probably how we're gonna find it. So, let's see here. Aha! Is that what I'm looking for? Wow. Bit repetitive, but I understand why. I suggest there are different dialogue jingles for the different characters. Okay, so that's line... '93 through '98. Specify the dialogue jingles. All right. All right, Copper and Nelson, thanks for dropping by. I hope you have a great rest of your night. It's fascinating to see how I program this. Oh, hey Quinn. Well, so we are, as I was saying earlier, trying to figure out all the different locations that will need updates in order to support having the passive lore bits in the depths. So it's a bit more complicated because, as you can see, there's lots of stuff to go through. Let's see here. Yeah. All right, so we'll start off here. This appears to be the most analogous to this line of code. Yeah. Yep, that's the line of code. Alrighty. Got that all copied over. There's more. we go. Just like that. All right, next up. Actually, I'll scroll up a bit. I saw some things that I think probably require stuff. Forgive me, chat, I'm being a little quiet right now. It's just I'm really trying to focus and make sure I get the right lines of code here, because if this goes sideways, it could mess up a lot of dialogue stuff, and that would be no fun. Yep. Oh, no worries. But in the meantime, chat, if you have any questions or just want to throw out some discussion topics, by all means, go for it. I'm more than happy to engage. I know we were talking about Sonic earlier, particularly Sonic Heroes. But if there's anything else you guys want to chat about, I'm more than happy to. Okay. Based off what I'm seeing here, I think we'll be okay if I copy over some code over here. Twin asks, do I think this decade is the right time for human civilization to become spacefaring, or is it too early? I guess my response is human civilization is already spacefaring. We have been spacefaring ever since humankind first put a person into space. But I don't think that's really the question you're getting at, is it, Twin? Are you more so asking for the sake of long-term, like, living outside of the planet? Because technically that's also happened because of the International Space Station. Some astronauts have been up there for a very long time. But if you mean like actually sending people out beyond to, at a minimum, like live on the moon or Mars or stuff like that, like honestly, I don't think. Let's say you're asking me, like, is it too early? Well, my response is, do we have the will to do so? And are we willing to put that behind the money and resources to do it? Because if the answers to all those questions are yes, then no, it's not too early. But if the idea is just, oh, we're just going to send people out, but we haven't really tested things and stuff, then of course that's too early. You want to have everything be as robust as you possibly can, because space is a very unforgiving area. But I do think like that's obviously the next logical leap forward, is to become more spacefaring, and it is very much in humankind's best interest to do that, I'd say, as soon as possible. What's your opinion on this topic, Copper, Nicholson, and Quinn? All right. That might cause some problems. Or be a bit redundant. Let's see here. Quinn says, how will we know when is the right time? How will we select who takes the risk? Would it be still based for volunteering? It's probably going to be a mix of all those things. Like, obviously, people will need the skills and the physical wherewithal to survive out there, but they'd also have to willingly want to do that too, because it's obviously, like, even if it was just trying to live on the moon, that's still not exactly a short trip. And if it were to go someplace like Mars, well, then that's obviously a super... That's probably a one-way trip at that point. But it's like, how do you think we know when the time is right? I'd say we'll know when we have the technology to be able to theoretically do it. And the technology's been tested to some extent. And then beyond that, we'd have to actually try and see what happens. Let's see here. Alright, before I did, I know you're saying, why do you remove that line of code? I need to check for something. I need to check for if there's some dialogue skip section. It makes things invisible. Aha! This was the code I was looking for. Yep. Okay, so 144 and 145. Here. Also, read a message as William. This is a special birthday shout out to Copper Nicholson's boss. He is a super awesome dude with the strength of 10 men. Every day he does amazing work for his coworkers, his community, and his family. I have no doubts that he will be an astonishing father. He's so awesome that he should give Copper Nicholson a raise. Twice as much as all that. They're gonna have so much fun. I see. Okay, so this is the code we are looking for. All right. Now, very important is this line, chat. This line right here is the line that determines whether or not the lore bit display is active. So I think the lines of code I stated, greater than 368 and less than 393. I think just for good measure, we should also do a logical thing here. Alright, that should cover everything for now. I think. Just at basic level. Alright. Next step, we need to find those section steps. Bring over the code accordingly. Alright. Must find the section steps. Okay, so here's one. I think I found the section steps, but that's not the only thing. Where is it? Yeah, just trying. What I'm trying to do right now, chat, is make sure that there aren't duplicates. There's duplicates to mess things up too. that's looking like potential duplicate right there. Yep. Fine, I'll read this verbatim. We have to delete that. Yeah, we can at least inactivate it. Alright. Ready? We got that. Okay. Let's just double check in chat. Alright. I think we've got at least the one for the small text box. So now what we check for is this one. All right. Okay. Leave that alone. Oh. I'll probably leave that one alone as well. For those who are wondering why I'm leaving these lines of text alone, it's because those lines of text wouldn't apply for lore bits necessarily, for cutscene dialogue. Alright. I think... Did things change at all? Alright, well chat, I think we're about ready for our first test. Let's pause that music and head on in. Alright. I'll probably have to test the character dialogue off screen, but this is not the right stairwell. This test is primarily chat for... Okay, so we got passive active. Alright. So, we have this. Alright. That's happening. I remember that happening before. I'm trying to remember how it fits that. It's actually a sign of progress, chat. The fact that that's the way that is. Yeah, so somewhere... the visibility flag for theirs not being rechecked. Okay. Alright. Let us continue, chat. Alright, this is our jam chat. I know I fixed this before, I'm just trying to remember what exactly I did. there any lines of code here that would make the thing reappear when it shouldn't? Oh! That might be it right there. Aha! I found it. I think. I know it's here. Aha. All right. Now, as a caution, that's how the line used to look. This is a different adaptation. Give it a try. Let's head on down, chat. Alright, chat. Have we fixed it yet or have we not? We will know shortly, because as soon as I read this lore bit, We'll see whether or not the E prompt appears here. We have it set to the passive lowbit display. The stakes are high, chat. Let's find out. Hey, look at that. It didn't display. That's exactly what we want. I'll just swap on over. Yep. Swap back over. Looks good. Yes. All right. Well, let's let it work, chat. That was the missing link. So it seems to me, Chad, that we might have actually gotten the passive lore bits working correctly there. Now, there's one big caveat to all this, and that is that we have not tested the boss dialogue or the NPC dialogue in the depths. But that is something I'll have to do off stream, simply because I am in the middle of the programming for the second phase of the boss fights, and that does cost some. And since I am in the middle of it, that means not everything is quite there yet. So that'll be something I'll do off stream. So I'll make a note about that. Important action. Alright, and for what I'm doing right now, chat, is just to make sure that the code for okay, I'm glad it shuts that. I need to bring something over. And that something is the lore bit counter. Chat, there's a very specific line of code. It's this one right here. That controls a counter in the Science and Exits menu for the amount of lore bits read. So it is critically important that that line of code be added to the depths as well. Right there. That should be the only one necessary, since it's the one for when the lore bits are fully read. Alright. Last test of the night, chat. We'll just pause that. So we're actually going to read this lore bit in full. With the goal of checking whether or not this counter right here increments the lore bit's read. Alright. Currently it's at 2. We have 8 wisdom XP. We're set to passive. Let's read a lore bit. Check. Alright, the lore bit's read went from 2 to 3, that's good. And wisdom XP went up. Very good. Excellent, so that's all working. Alrighty. Cool. Well, chat. We accomplished what we were trying to do tonight, and that was to get the lore bit display code all brought over to the depths, which means not the lore bit display, the passive lore bit display code. So that means that, assuming everything still works with the NPC dialogue in the depths, which I'll need to check off stream, assuming that all works, that means that the Science and Atis menu that we've been working on for many months now is fully functional. Yes, it has been a very, very long time coming at this point. But this is a major accomplishment, chat. Like, this was a pretty massive undertaking, not gonna lie. Like, it's not just that it had a lot of functionalities that I never even realized how complicated things could be. Like, even this chronometer, like, getting this display correctly was a lot more complicated than you would think. But even just setting this up was a process, but on top of that, copying it over to the other frames was a process. But that's all the more reason why we're doing this now, because imagine how much more of a nightmare this would have been if I worked on developing the rest of the game, and I'm like, oh wait, I have to do all this stuff now. That would have been a pain. But now, we have our nice, happy, fully functional, system here. And as you can see, this is kind of what the game looks like in its quote-unquote full screen mode. So, yeah, it's science stuff. Able to adjust stuff. And yeah, so you might be asking yourselves, what are we gonna do next on stream? So, there's 2 different avenues we can go here, chat, for what we're working on stream. That's since the next big thing is going to be some boss fight stuff, that I'll obviously work on off stream since I want it to be a little bit of a surprise. So, realistically, the next stuff that I work on stream is probably going to be stuff that's going to be beyond the scope of the next demo update. Stuff like new weapons, new levels, stuff like that. Princess can't wait to play the new update and patch the lore together. Oh yeah, that's true. There's also a ton of new lore here. That was another big thing that was a massive undertaking for the Science and Atis menu. Like, it took almost like an extra month and a half as a result, but I think it will be worth it when you guys see just how much lore there is in the Science and Atis menu. Like, I wrote a ton. And it took a while because there was just so much I had to cover in a meaningful, but concise way. So, I'd say, chat, during the next update to the demo, make sure to peruse through the Science and Atis menu at the new lore, because I think you'll be pretty interested to see Twin what the new lore is. So Twin says, so what's left before the new patch? So a couple of things. The big thing that's left before the new patch is just going to be programming and testing the new second phases for the tutorial bosses. So that's going to be a process unto itself. Once that's done, I'm going to try some test playthroughs just to make sure that everything works as expected, that there's anything weird going on. I mean, there already are some bugs noted that have been posted about on my Discord server. I don't think I'll be able to address all of those bugs before the update, just because there were quite a lot of them. But my main goal is essentially one, get the new second phases for the bosses implemented. Twin says, Stealth Splitter and Mad Smith are day in second phases. Yes, they are. So I have to program those in. That's going to be a process because it's it's new stuff. But once that's done, the main thing's just going to be conducting test playthroughs and making sure that the state of the game is effectively where it was before I start working on this stuff in terms of bugs and stuff. Because like I said, I do not think I'll be able to address all the bugs that have been posted about on the Discord server before this next update, just because it's been, just because I want to really push for this next update to get out and be have all this new features and stuff. Because chat, for those of you who played the Heartwell demo, you know that you can't even. There is no full screen. There is no quit game button. This menu here doesn't exist in the current Heartwell demo version, and also the XP earn rates are a lot lower, and and also agility is a lot worse as well. This is another thing to be excited for with the Heartwell demo update. I mean, even this spot here was empty, but. In the current Heartwell demo version, but here, as you can see, we now have a stamina regeneration rate section, and now agility affects that. But yeah, like I said, the main thing is just going to be the boss fights, and then of course testing things just to make sure that I didn't accidentally break more stuff. And if all that goes well, then at that point, and only at that point, would I start the Heartwell. Would I post a patch for the Heartwell demo. But, still some more work to do there. However, like I said, for the upcoming dev streams, we'll actually be able to work on stuff that is, beyond the scope of that next patch. So, my question to you, chat, is, what are you more interested in seeing? Are you more interested in seeing me, animate and begin to perhaps program some of the weapons, which, mind you, I will absolutely have to do all of those before I start adding new levels. What I mean by adding new levels is not the planning for the levels. I can do that outside of Fusion 2.5. But once I start creating, over here you see on the left side of the screen, once I add a new frame, I don't want to do that until I know for 100% that I have all of the animations and stuff implemented for all the weapons in the game. And that's because, as you have seen from just this, propagating stuff between multiple frames takes a lot of time. And if I have to do that for the weapon code and also the weapon animations, that is just going to be an absolute pain. So I think, in terms of what I would actually do in Fusion 2.5, that would be the next major step for the game, is actually getting all the weapons in here. Because as you know, we're supposed to have 30 melee and ranged weapons in the full game. Currently, we have 4. So there's quite a ways to go there. But The other thing I could do, chat, is I have been spending a lot of time off stream using a graphing paper book to plan out levels for future areas. And what I could do for at least a couple of streams is start at least importing those ideas into the tiled map editor. So that way you can at least kind of get a sense of what my thoughts are for like the upcoming level designs and such. So that's another idea. If you have a strong preference one way or the other, chat, of what you want to see me work on first, whether that's the new weapons or at least getting a glimpse as to some planning for the future levels, please let me know. Quinn says you like the importing the tiles idea. All right, that's something I can do at least for probably a couple of streams. Now, mind you, I don't have. I mean, I have well over. Let me think. How many do I have? I think I have over 100 of those to implement. Quinn says, what would benefit you the best in the grand scheme of Heartwell design? In the grand scheme of Heartwell design, the thing that would benefit me the most is if I knew, like, 1,000% that the fundamentals, like the foundation of the game, is here set in stone before actually implementing new levels. And what I mean by the foundation of the game is anything that is tied to Dorothy as an active object that isn't a cutscene animation, and anything that is tied to this manifest menu needs to be programmed and as finalized and complete as I can possibly make it before I start adding more levels. And that's because, like I said, when I start moving stuff outwards, I'm going to essentially most likely use like one of the Heartwell frames as like the template for that. Or I might even just end up just creating a template frame just for the sole purpose of using it as a starting point for any new levels. But in order to have that starting point, everything about the fundamentals of the RPG design, so basically the role-playing game stuff that's all in here, and between all like the weapon animations and stuff, that all needs to be solid. And if I have all that, then I can start working on the levels. So that would be like the most beneficial thing to me in the grand scheme of things. Now, that being said, I don't mind importing some of the tile, some of the level ideas into the tile map editor. Just know that I don't have all of the levels like sketched out yet for the entire rest of the game. Like, I think I've have like 109 of these levels sketched out at this point, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me think about that. Yep, somewhere around there. But there's still a lot more of those to plan out. Quinn says you should do the laying the foundation task unless those are spoilers. So realistically, the only spoilers would be weapons that are. The only potential spoilers would be like the very late game weapons. And for those, I'll probably just confine those to like the third page of the like melee and ranged weapon menus. So basically like the stuff on like the first two pages would be not quite at like the super late game for the most part. And those would be stuff where I'd have no problem with you guys seeing those on stream. But I guess once it gets to the point where it's like I've actually got most of those animations all implemented and I need to start working on the ones that are, we'll say, go beyond a certain central plot point, then I'll probably do that stuff off stream. But until that point, I think working on the weapons nets is probably going to be like the most important thing. And hey, if we ever need to like take a break at some point, we're like, you know what, let's take a look at some levels that we've come up with, or level ideas that come up with, and we can obviously do that as well. Like, at least for the level ideas, you know, a lot of the level stuff would come before a particular plot point, and that would be, you know, so being you guys staying to see some of those level ideas would not be spoilery in any way except knowing just generally what kind of stuff to expect in some of these new areas. But I'm fine with like showing some work on like the enemies, levels, and bosses that would be available before a certain part of the story. For stuff after that part of the story, that's all heavy spoilers and stuff I would be, you know, keeping completely off stream. But trust me when I say that there is a lot of stuff to work on that can be done on stream. Anyway, but that's a problem for future Antomicx. For now, we've hit another major milestone. I think that's important. I think that's definitely worth doing a little celebratory run around in circles and hoppy hops. And yeah, I think I'll wrap things up here. If you're watching on Twitch, feel free to stick around for a raid. But if you're watching on YouTube and you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing on YouTube. If you're subscribing on YouTube, you can watch change my layer. That's a great way to show support. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you have an amazing night.